Okay, back to this example on 15.2. And we're going to find Q1 and Q3 and the median for this. So let's say we have this list and we know from earlier that it's a list of 75 test scores. So we know that n equals 75. So if I want to find, let's say Q1 is the value that's 25% of the way through this list. So I want to know what's 25% of 75? What number would be 25% of the way through the list? And it looks like I get 18.75. Then since that didn't land on a whole number, I always want to round up, so I'm looking for digit number 19. So remember, this doesn't mean that this number, the test score, in fact, you can see 18 to be way over here. That's not the 25th percentile. So it's telling me that I want to go to the 19th number in the list. Okay, if I start counting over, be careful not to just go 1, 2, 3, 4, because some of these numbers are in here more than once, right? So this is the first number, this is the second, this is the next two numbers. And so here I'm one number through the list, two. By the time I finish this one, I'm 4 numbers through the list. And then I'm 10 numbers of the way through the list, so digit 10. So if we're picturing like what this would look like, digit 1 is a 1, digit 2 is a 1, or sorry, a 6 for the score. So digit 1 is a 1, then a 6, digit 3 and 4 are both 7s, and then all the ones between there are 8, 8, 8, 8, 8 over and over and over. And so up to digit 20 is where the 9s would start. And so it looks like digit 19, so think about this one ends on the 10th one. So you don't have to, it definitely saves time if you can not write the whole list down, but just on one of these to visualize it, I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so, oops, I keep doing that. Putting the 6 as a 2. Okay, so the 1 is in there once, and then 6 is in there once, and then 7 is in there twice, and then 8 is in there 6 times. So 8, and then 9 is in there 10 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So if I'm looking for the 19th number, notice 20 gets me this far in the list. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 is the end of the 8s. So you can see what we're marking off here. Then they're all 9s all the way up till the 20th one. So 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So I know that the 19th number is a 9. And so what's that telling me is that Q1, the 25th percentile score, is a 9. Okay, then I can calculate what's 0.7. For Q3, I can do 0.75 times 75 and count all the way through the list. But I can also use the fact that these are symmetric. If this is if 25% is 19 numbers in, then 75% is 19 numbers from the end. And we can picture kind of how do I know that? Because everything is going off 25%. So the 25th percentile, draw a little picture here. So the median is in the middle. The 25th percentile is 25% of the way through the list, so it was 19 numbers to get to there. And so the same idea, Q3, it should be 19 numbers also to get to here, because we're cutting it into even quarters. Okay, so let's see if I can go 19 numbers back. So here's 1, 2, this would be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this ends on the 9th digit. This ends on the 17th digit. And that gets me into the 19 digits back. I'll fall in here, right? It won't be the whole thing. The 17th all the way up to here goes through the 9s. So it looks like 12 would be Q3. And if you have trouble counting them like that, you can totally write out you can write out all the scores if you want to, or just as many as you need to, like we did on the first one. So I can say this one is a 12. And then similar idea about the median. I think there's 75 numbers. The middle is 37.5. So I just have to count across here how many that gets me to. So let's look at some of the work they already did for us. So median is 11. Q1 is 9 because it's the 19th digit. And Q3 is 12. So they counted back 19. So more than one way to do those. That's probably the quickest if you can count them off the frequencies, but you can write out the whole list. Okay, then one other thing that they do, and this is just warning about the thing I said earlier, if you try to just find a calculator online that gives you Q1 or Q3, you have to be careful because they don't all use the same rounding rules, and so you want to use the basic rounding rule they gave from this book so that your answers match up with the ones from the book. Just be careful about that. So another thing is the 5-number summary. And I normally like to write this in order when I'm looking at them just because they automatically, the first quartile is always bigger than the smallest value, the median's always in the middle. So the 5-number summary, and then they'll also take the 5-number summary and graph it. And so here's what they do is you put a whisker between minimum and Q1. So this is thinking this is like the bottom 25% of values. So 25% of numbers, since this is the 25th percentile, right? 25% of the scores fall between here and here. And then another 25% fall between here and here, between 25 and halfway between 50th percentile. And this is the 75th percentile. Another way you can look at that too. So here's another 25%, here's another 25%, here's another 25%. They put a box around this because this is kind of important also. This is the middle 50% of values. Because if there's 25% in here and 25% of the values fall in here, this is the middle half. And these are the top 25 and the bottom 25%. So they just give a way to visualize. Here's where the middle half of scores are, and here's the top 25 and the bottom 25%. And then they draw a line at the median. Okay, so when you have actual numbers, these don't have to look perfectly symmetrical all the time. So let's say the data that we just did, we had a minimum score of 1, a maximum score of 24. We had Q1 was 9 and Q3 was 12 and the median's 11. So we want to mark that our scores are evenly distributed. That way we can say, oh, looks like our median or our middle half of people, 50% of scores, were really bunched together between 9 and 12. So most people got in this range, or half of them. And then the top scores and the bottom scores are quite spread out after that. So it gives you a nice picture, a summary of your data that you can quick visually look at. So here's an example where they put a certain number of salaries. They took the box plot and for engineering and agriculture, and they put them against each other. And so you can draw a lot of conclusions from these. You could say, well, the middle 50% here is higher than the median on this one. This actually goes up to higher than this, but it's the top scores that are more spread out. So it just gives you a way to evaluate two things. If I just gave you the median, this one would be around 50 and this one would be maybe 43,000. But notice that doesn't give you the whole picture. Like there's some really high ones here. There's the average is more bunched together. This is more spread out. So you can tell a lot of stuff from the 5-plot number summary. So this is the minimum, Q1, median, Q3, and the maximum score. And same thing I was just saying here, the spread occurs on the higher end of the salary for this one. So it just gives you a better picture than looking at just the median, or especially than looking at just the average, like that example we had with the one person in the philosophy majors made 3.5 million, doubled everyone else's average salary. So this gives you a better picture